Hi, we'll be going over the order trading system for December the 4th, 2020. There were 7 trades and 3 buys and 4 sells. First trade is EVRI. That's Every Holdings Incorporated. It tripped at 12:37:44 p.m. at a price of $13.01. It was indicated as a buy trade. It closed at 12:69 and was down 4.87%. So this obviously is a tricky trade. We can see that right around that time, 13:01, around that price, did it come up? No, it never really came up and then dropped for the rest of the day, so we'll check to see if there's any potential in that stock. OBD just showing it going down, MACD showing it going down by the end of the day, so like it tripped early morning but then just basically started dropping during the rest of the day. DI, DI is actually showing, it was a positive early afternoon, but pretty much negative for the rest of the day, so that's not good, obviously. Path, Bollinger Bands showed that it was rising and then dropped, so indicators are not showing any positive movement, so I'll consider that a non-trade opportunity. Next trade is EXPE. That's Expedia Group Incorporated. Tripped at 12:45 p.m. at a price of $127.52. It was a buy trade. It closed at 128.58 and it was up 0.97%. So that's a positive trade because it closed above its tripping price at the end of the day. OBD showing that it had a steady climb till mid-afternoon, moving somewhat sideways. Interestingly enough, MACD showing that it rised obviously early afternoon and then started dropping. So MACD is actually showing that it was actually negative in the afternoon. DI though, look, DI showing it pretty much positive all afternoon. So that's a question mark. MACD is showing there's some points where it was positive movement, but it was positive movement based on the aspect that in general it was moving down for the day. So it's kind of like a question mark of exactly how strong that movement was. Bollinger Bands shows that it was fairly strongly moving upwards, and you can see the afternoon it was moving sideways. So it happens to be that it was moving sideways in the afternoon, which probably caused the indicators to show the way they're showing. Next trade is AZUL. That's AZUL SA. Tripped at 1:56 p.m. at a price of $24.10. It was a short sell. It closed at 24.60, so it closed up, but it was down from previous close, 0.32%. We'll check to see if there's any points. 1 p.m. Ooh, look. Yeah, no. You can see the morning it moved down. It tripped right at when it reverted and turned back. So that's not a good trade, obviously, based on the price. OBV showing the same thing, that it was dropping and it was basically recovering. MACD actually showing that even early morning it was moving upwards and then dropped early afternoon and then recovered. So MACD is actually showing that it was moving positive for most of the day. DI though was showing that it was moving negative for a good portion of the day, but at the end of the day it was making recovery. And Bollinger Bands, yeah, showing them down. Unfortunately, the indicator is just not showing it strongly enough or stable enough to indicate that it was possible, so that is technically another negative trade. Next trade is D, Dominion Energy Incorporated. It tripped at 1:10:09 p.m. at a price of $76.86. It was a short sell. It closed at $75.88, down 3.21%, so it actually closed below its indication price, so another positive trade. OBB, just showing it dropping. MACD is actually showing it was moving fairly positive for a good portion of the day. You can see the you can see the point where it tripped, it was dropping quite heavily. DI though, DI is just showing right across the board it was moving negatively, so directional movement, it was negative, and it was actually negative very heavily in the afternoon, so DI showing that it was fairly strongly negative. And Bollinger Band, yeah, it's just showing it moving downwards, so the end result is that was a bit of positive trade. Next trade is COST, Costco Wholesale Corporation. It tripped at 1:45:35 p.m. at a price of $372.67. It was tripped as a short sell. It closed at $373.43, but it was down from previous close, so it looked like it was technically moving down. And we'll see if we can get anything going here. 141, which would have been around that area. But you can see, look. This hour period here, it was below its tripping price. So I indicate that that is a possible trading period for this to be positive. I'll register that as a positive trade, but it is, again, one of those tricky trades where you have to monitor and get out when the opportunity arises, obviously. As you can see, it was somewhat moving sideways and it recovered to, above its tripping price at the end of the day. And the indicator should show that, obviously. OBV showing it somewhat chaotic, so nothing concrete OBV-wise. MACD is not strong. MACD has actually got a good positive movement. It did trip in the afternoon. You can see in the afternoon it was moving negative, but not extreme. DI, a good portion day it was negative, but a good portion day it was positive. DI is almost looking half and half. So it's in a Bollinger Band, yeah, showing it just moving sideways. You can see this reversal that had happened at the end of the day. Luckily enough, there was a period of time, though, that you could have gotten out of that trade in a positive outcome. Next trade is HIMX, Himax Technologies Incorporated. It tripped at 2:18:23 p.m. at a price of $6.81. And it was a buy trade. It closed at $6.81 at a positive 4.61%. Let's see, $6.81 at 2:18, so right around there. Moving sideways. That's not a positive trade explicitly. Check to see if the price showing you that. OBV showing that it was making a good positive movement in the afternoon. MACD showing that positive movement in mid-afternoon, but you can see it was making a reversal late mid-afternoon. And late afternoon was making recovery. So it's kind of like a question mark. DI showing it somewhat positive most of the day, and mid-afternoon or late mid-afternoon it was kind of like making a reversal, but then again making a recovery end of the day. Bollinger Band showing that it was making that. To me, that's a good possible, but because it didn't make a 100% rise above its tripping price, I won't consider that a positive trade. There was a couple of points that it looked like it may have been above, but we're talking 1 cent above and not for a very long period of time, so we'll say that's a possible, not a positive. Next trade is the LAC, Lithium Americas Corporation. It tripped at 3:11 p.m. at a price of 10.11. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 10.19. It was down 230, but it closed above its tripping price. And you can see at the end of the day it made a recovery, so that's why it came up. And it tripped at 315, so we're talking right around here. So it tripped right at its tripping price and then came up. So that stock, look, you can see OBV was dropping, DI was, or MACD showing a drop, DI showing a drop. You see this peak here at the end of the day where DI came and recovered, but by the end of the day it was returning and going back. Weather band showing a steady drop, so this is definitely a high possible trade. And the end of day result is 3 out of 7 trades were absolute positive, so 42% positive trades on this one. Not great. I'm not going to say terrible either, but obviously you can see that this day was very, very tricky. And the good thing is there's a couple of possible trades, which brings us up to more of a 75% level of trade activity. If you caught them the day after the trade, they did look possible. Like this one here, like the last trade, you can see this stock is moving down. It's moving down heavily too. It's not like so. Like the DI is a good thing about showing the strength of the movement, and you can see pretty much all afternoon, practically all day, this is showing very, very, very strong negative movement. You know, so this stock looks like it probably would continue moving down on the next trading day. So anyways, that's the way that day goes. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.